Hey, how's it going, everybody? So I think we finally built it. I was waiting on a part again for about a week, another flywheel, but it came in. So I got it on there, got all the balls on there, and just that pulls nice. So, and then I had to make a correction on the decompression pin. So I posted an updated short of that. Basically, I put like the spring in the wrong spot, so it's flipping around. It's hard to find diagrams, right? So originally I put that bar through the spring, but I didn't put it on top. So I just showed up close kind of what I did to correct it, and now it works fine. I also forgot to put the second or third, I guess, metal bracket behind the first up against the plate of the saw, which that actually lifts it up just enough for the spring to pull the latch all the way out of the trigger. So that's kind of important, but kind of a small detail that actually I was looking on the parts diagram and it looked like it only showed 2. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, mine had 3, so I'm not sure if that's just. I have no idea. So mine had 3. That's why I didn't put this third one on, because the parts diagram I don't think had it, unless I was missing it. But it only looked like 2. So unless they were like the picture made them on top of each other by default, I don't know. So the whole thing's up. You saw the short, if you did, that this thing has spark. So it took the flywheel. I set the ignition coil to what does that say? 0.006 or 0.15 millimeters. The factory specs are 0.04 to 0.08. I went 0.06. 0.04 is kind of, I mean, that's like really pushing it. So I put 0.06. When you tighten it, sometimes I can squeeze it back. So that's what I put it at, and it seems like it sparks pretty evenly every pull. But we'll see for sure the first time I put gas in this thing and try to turn it over. That's when we're really going to figure out, okay, are the lines correct? Is there any leaking in the lines? Which I'm a little concerned about, but I talked about in the last video, so I'm not going to go into that this time. The other things I have to put on, obviously I didn't put on the plate yet. I have like the dogs or the falling spikes, dogs, whatever you call them, that I'm going to put on, just so you get an idea. It's kind of what it's, that's kind of what it's going to be. Well, that's kind of what it's going to be, more or less, if I have it on there correct. I can't tell from this orientation. You get the idea. So I'm going to have 2. It came with the factory bar. I think this is a 16 inch, 18, 16, I don't know, it might be 16. For right now, I'm just going to use this. I don't think this saw was run a lot. For how old this bar is, I mean, it's not in terrible shape. I'd like to put a little longer bar on the saw once we do actually the porting work, at least over 20 inches for sure. But I'm not going to worry about that yet. I'm just going to use the factory bar. I have to sharpen the chain. I have the chain that it came with. I think it's original chain, pretty sure. So I got to sharpen that for sure. First time I ran it with that chain, I mean, it was the dullest thing ever. I was putting way too much pressure on it over the top. So I have to sharpen that. May or may not do a thing on that. We'll see. Because I don't know. I sharpen tools and stuff, but I have like no experience sharpening chainsaw teeth. So we'll see. Or chainsaw, whatever the proper terminology is there, guys. But this was a task. I'll tell you what, building this up, definitely learned a lot of things that I'm going to take into the next chainsaw. There's a certain number of parts that I'm going to pay attention to. You know, are they okay? I'm going to make sure I have the right lines, make sure the flywheel, so I'll run into that again, make sure that's either good right out of the box or the ignition coil is good. If it's not, you got to start looking early, so I'm not waiting on it until kind of the end of my build. The piston, I replaced the piston on this saw, brand new, so I'm hoping hoping nothing, is gonna mess that up, like score the side or anything. Again, I cleaned it out all brake clean before I put it in, and I put oil, just 2 sharp oil on it all before I put it in. So it should all be fine. It's making good compression, a little over 90 psi, so right kind of where we want it. Let's see what else did I do? We got a new flywheel, new piston, all new lines. Oiler is good, still works. Clutch is fine. New oil's perfect shape. We got a new spark plug. Ignition coil is great, so I think it's a real high quality piece. Those factory ones or whatever company made them. We got to do. I got new seals for the caps, but they're so old. I didn't think of this. They're bad kind of already, just because they're cork, and I don't know how they were stored. And I think that they were stored in a little bit too humid environment because they kind of. They're maybe dry. I don't know what happened to over time, but it cracked again. So I'm back to square one of those, but I'm just gonna make them. I'm just gonna get some gasket maker and make those. So they will be new. So it might leak from that perspective, or from that way. But I'm hoping that they'll at least seal enough. I should have known. I mean, I don't know. But switch is good. Starter switch. I think that's it. I had a really hard time getting the decompression pin on there and actually working fine. But again, I learned that, so next saw I'm gonna do, I'm gonna try it, guys. So again, once I get this up, once I get the gas in there for the first time, which will probably be in a couple days, just got stuff going on, so it'll be a couple days. I'm gonna make a video on that, and I'm just gonna see what happens. Is it gonna run? Do we need more work on it? I don't think it needs more work. I think it should turn fine. The only thing again I'm concerned about are the lines. So if those leak, okay, we gotta go back and address that. But I think I know what I'm gonna do if that happens. But assuming it runs, we're gonna give it a couple weeks or a little bit of time to mess with the carburetor, see how we get the saw running with the new piston. With the lines, how they flow, because they're a little bit wider, so get a little more gas, and also we got to accommodate for that tune. So we got to see how we want it to run. We're going to get the timing numbers. And then we're going to see, okay, where do we want to put the degrees there? That's what we're going to figure out. So it's going to take a bit of time. That's probably going to be at least a month's more content, both full and short videos on that. So. Looking forward to that. So this is probably going to carry through for another month, this project, I would assume. The porting work, once we do that, once we start that, I gotta do some research. So that in itself could stretch over a little longer time. I don't want to spend all my time working on the porting this saw, this engine. I pretty much finished up the weed whacker engine. I'm not doing anything more to that. It runs just ridiculous. So I'm not touching that again. The next thing I would do is probably either get another power saw or chainsaw. I'd probably stick with the Homelites. I'd get another Homelite just because I'm fresh off this one, so I just want to learn as much as I can about those old Homelite saws, just to be more knowledgeable in the content and just try to provide some video about the stuff. But I also thought about, I don't know if there's relative interest in it, but I thought about getting an old Homelite gas trimmer too. They make one, it's like a Homelite Bandit. It looks pretty slick. Not the same red as this. I think it's from like I want to say like the 60s or something. So pretty old. Those things are just really fun, those gas trimmers to work on. So I don't know if I'm going to take a break from the chainsaw right now and go to the gas trimmer and do that. That one tends to be a little cheaper too, and way less parts. So we'll see. I've been looking around like all the time for old saws and stuff. They're kind of hard to find, at least it seems like in my area, like specifically the old ones. Like finding one of these down here is going to be non-existent. I'm not going to find the old Homelites down here because that's not where they were used and not where they were made. The only ones that I find around here old are going to be Craftsman, but that's not worthwhile to build at all. Or maybe Echo or Poland. at least the steel ones I found are too expensive really to make to buy that and sink a bunch of parts in it. At that point, it's a little bit more, trying to spend. Because I got this thing for about 100, 110, 120, I think, and then it's been around, I think, $200 chainsaw and all the parts. So I don't want to go over that again. With the gas trimmer, we could probably keep the whole thing to 100 or less. So that's what we're probably gonna. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I haven't decided. It's either gonna be a chainsaw or gas trimmer. So if you have anything else though, because those are the main two, right? Like, I'm not sure what other things I would want to work on that are fun. It's got to be like, I gotta like doing it. I love doing the chainsaw mill, but I just don't know if I want to switch to the gas trimmer again. Not sure, but there will be more chainsaws in the future for sure. I definitely am a fan of working on these old Homelites. They look great. They run awesome. Parts are real quality. I was really surprised by the quality parts. Very, very high quality. That's why I was really on the fence of getting a new aftermarket piston. Supposedly this one was made in the U.S. They had decent reviews or good reviews on it and stuff, but I still wanted to find. I was trying to find an OEM piston, but I couldn't find one in good shape. I found one, but it was dinged up on the top and scored on the side, so that puts me back to where I had this one. So I went for the new one, so I'm hoping that works out. Oh yeah, the carb, I didn't change the carburetor either, so that's good. I'm also trying to find a chainsaw that has a brake on it too. That's kind of important, or at least I'd like to have that if I can. A couple of the older ones I'm looking at don't have that, so we'll see. Stay tuned for that one. But yeah, so my parts bin kind of growing of the Homelite stuff. I have a bunch of flywheels now for a Super EZ, so maybe I'll do that. I don't know. I don't think I will, because it's like the same as this pretty much. So probably not. Yeah, anyway, got a ton more content coming down the pipeline, so stay tuned for that. I really appreciate everyone watching. We hit over 1,000 subscribers, so I think we're like 1,015-ish or something like that, which is crazy. That's awesome. I'm just hanging out, building stuff, and we're over 1,000. So hopefully we can grow from there. Yeah. Anyway, I appreciate it, guys. Have a good one.